Here are some of the weirdest ways how animals actually self-destruct. Number 9. Male phascogales. Spread around the coast of Australia, phascogales are insectivorous and carnivorous marsupials that have gotten kind of popular based mainly on their terribly tragic mating life. Most of the phascogale population has migrated to southwestern Australia because of deforestation, but of course, they're not going to let a little change in scenery stop them from mating and reproducing. Nature has been a little unfair to male phascogales with their lifespan, as females live an average 3 years while males only live around a year or so. So why is that? Well, it's because they wear themselves out. But how? It turns out male phascogales develop a strange fixation during their last few months, a fixation so powerful that they reach a state that's the reason for their ultimate demise. It seems that their libido is raised to a level that deprives them of their will to eat. They get into a famine-induced state where their only interest is mating. Once they get into this state, their organs become so deteriorated within days and stress-induced diseases get to them. Why do the males have to do this? Scientists don't have a good reason. They do know that the male phascogale's testosterone is through the roof during this spell. At least it definitely benefits the females and they're young. The females and the youngsters have more resources as the males no longer compete for food and shelter. The craziest thing? There are no survivors for the males once they start mating. Number 8. Mutant ants. Nature has a way of making animals work together in a big group. Nature still manages to demonstrate just how powerful teamwork is for some species in the wild. Take, for example, ants. But not just any kind of ant. We're talking about the super mutant X-Men type of ants that live on the island of Borneo, Southeast Asia. And if you think we're kidding about the whole mutant thing, think again. The Calopsis explodens ant give honor to their name by, you guessed it, exploding. These ants can't sting, nor do they have sharp teeth or a powerful mandible. This is probably the reason why they developed a protection technique that successfully guards them from any threat, although it's a one-time deal for the ants involved. Whenever they feel the presence of a predator or any type of threat, they'll explode themselves through an extraordinary muscular effort. This is in order to expel a yellow gooey substance that's highly toxic to the predator. These ants will first warn their predator about their intentions. Because, come on, who wants to blow themselves up with a false alarm? The ants lift up their butts in the air as a signal that they're ready to explode. If the would-be attacker does not back off, another ant will bite down on the ant in position, and the ant will flex so hard that the abdomens burst at the seams. Supposedly, this lethal yellow goo has a distinct and not unpleasant smell that's strangely reminiscent of curry. Hey, for these ants, it's one for all and all for one. Number 7. Spider moms. If you guys aren't into spiders, warning, close your eyes for the next couple minutes. But you should still listen about these spiders, because it's really interesting. When it comes to sacrificing for kids, we can probably all agree that no one makes a bigger sacrifice than a mom, as she's the one that has to carry the kids for quite a while. In certain species, that sacrifice can be much more extreme. We've all heard about certain species in which mothers go to extreme lengths to feed and protect their children. Well, this is one of those cases, but it's to the point of ridiculousness if you're asking us. The female desert spider of the species Stegodipus is a common inhabitant of the Mediterranean and Eurasia. It's known for its characteristic anatomy of bold, contrasting colors and black lines on their backs, but their feeding ritual is the one that gets the most attention, mainly because of how extreme it is. During breeding season, females develop more enzymes, which makes them much more successful hunters. After eating enough food, the mom spider will regurgitate her food for her kids so they can eat. But things get weird once her kids start eating. The babies will crawl all over their mom's face, trying to get at the food coming from her mouth. Even before the spiderlings hatch, her abdominal tissues break down in order to make it easier for her kids to get fed. The spiderlings eventually find out mom's insides is all food, so they start going to town on their mom's liquefied insides. Now, that's not sacrifice for your kids. We don't know what is. Okay, you guys, you can open your eyes now. Number 6, worker termites. We all know that we each have our special role, whether it's on a team for a project at work or on a team for a sport. In the animal world, it's not any different. Some animals are providers, some animals make sure others are well fed, and some animals just explode with giant backpacks filled with toxic liquid. Okay, maybe the last one is a bit unusual. However, this is the case of a very specific kind of termite found in the rainforests of French Guiana. They're known for their interesting way of protecting their family. It's, explosive to say the least. Ha! Worker termites become less productive throughout their lifetime, which means they become more sedentary and somewhat unable to find food or help in other ways in the colony. Over time, their mandibles wear down, preventing them from biting and finding sources of nutrition. But what few people know is that throughout their life, they store highly toxic bluish-looking crystals in a special pouch on their abdomen, kind of like a backpack. These toxic backpacks are their secret weapon for the colony whenever worker termites feel threatened or under attack. If these workers perceive a threat, they'll essentially explode and spew the toxic compound all over their predator. The goo is strong enough to paralyze other work termites, or even better yet, they're just not going to be moving anymore. Number 5. Male anglerfish. It's pretty clear how some male specimens in the animal kingdom tend to be a bit extreme when it comes to mating. We get it, reproduction is crucial for the survival of any species, but the way some of these animals go about it is what makes us thankful we don't have to go through the same process. The male anglerfish is a deep-sea fish that takes a very fatal attraction approach when it comes to mating. The male deep-sea anglerfish is much smaller in size when compared to its female counterpart, but the size difference doesn't stop the male anglerfish from going all in during mating season, literally. Using their keen sense of smell and sight, males find their female mating partners by homing in on a chemical emitted by females. Once they find the female, they attach to them. But if you're thinking about a healthy, romantic kind of attachment, yeah, it's not that. They start biting into the female's body until they're actually able to be inside of the female. Their bodies actually fuse into one, and they begin sharing tissues and circulatory systems. And once this happens, the male loses pretty much everything, from his eyes to his internal organs. He's essentially stuck to the female for the rest of her life, only serving as a sperm bank when she's ready to spawn. Number 4. Mice. The never-ending feud between cats and mice has taken a dark turn worthy of any dystopian film. We all know how Tom and Jerry used to fight like there was no tomorrow. Of course, we all know that Jerry would always somehow escape, leaving Tom upset and confused. All fun and games aside, reality is a bit different. Cats have the upper hand when it comes to preying on mice. However, some mice just aren't able to do anything when they see a cat. It turns out that some mice have a parasite that prevents them from doing anything when they face a cat. Wait, there are mouse-controlling parasites? Yep. In general, mice run away from anything. Their quickness allows them to do so successfully most of the time. But when a mouse is infected with a parasite called Toxoplasma gondii, they're unable to run away because they just don't recognize the cat as a threat. The parasite has turned off the mouse's innate fear of cats. The parasite has evolved to do this because that way, when the cat eats the mouse, the parasite reproduces. Worst part is, the infection can spread to us as well, a disease called toxoplasmosis. Number 3. Female octopus. We all have heard of postpartum depression, but the female octopus takes this to another level. While she's carrying her eggs, she becomes the most protective animal as can be in nature. She'll guard her eggs, stroking them and occasionally blowing water at them. She won't abandon them, not even for a second. She'll only grab a snack if the opportunity presents itself, but she'll eventually stop eating altogether. Once a female octopus lays her eggs, she starts to starve herself. It's almost as if there is something inside her telling her it's time to go. Some female octopuses have been reported to eat part of their tentacles. Others tear their own skin off. Some captive octopus go as far as to bang their heads against the tank until they pass. Scientists have pointed out how octopus are known for their self-harming tendency, so this is a natural way of preserving their species. That way, the mom won't eat her babies. Other researchers point out that because octopuses are capable of growing to enormous sizes, so this might be a built-in way to protect their ecosystem from too many large, hungry adults. But the reality is, scientists still don't know why octopus do this. Number 2. Worker honeybees. Bees are popular for honey, not their annoying behavior of buzzing around everything and everyone and then, to top it all off, stinging you because they see you as a threat. While this is annoying, these little guys are responsible for the production of honey, so a little sting here and there won't hurt anyone. Unless you're highly allergic, in which case it really sucks. At the same time, have you actually thought about the fact that when they sting, honeybees have fulfilled their ultimate goal? While many people know about how a bee sting is a heroic feat that bees do to defend their colonies, many people actually don't know the details. When a bee stings a target, their stinger goes in so deep that the only thing a bee can do is to rip it off their own body. They do it so strongly, they rip off not only the hook they use for stinging their victim, but part of their skeleton and even their digestive tract. Although it's an extreme measure, the bee's sacrifice allows for better protection of its colony and queen, which is in fact what it was born to do. Number 1. Unhappy times. Although it's perfectly plausible, not many people know that mental health issues can affect animals as well. Several studies by veterinary and psychiatric experts around the world show that animals do suffer mental issues just like humans. There have been reports of animals who seem to be determined to end their lives willingly. Since stress and depression are also felt by animals, it's likely some of them may have done just that. Ancient journals that date back 2,000 years have served as proof of instances in which animals seem to have ended their lives by themselves. For example, back in ancient Greece, Aristotle reported how on one occasion a stallion threw itself into an abyss. There are also stories from the 19th century where people said they saw various animals willingly end their lives. One of them was the case of a dog that appeared on an issue of Illustrated London News in 1845. According to the magazine, the dog threw itself into a river and even when rescued, managed to throw himself in the river again. Here's what's next.